Geshe Thubten Lam Rim Text, Pajun Rim Text, all those in the Mashi Sarjeta, Dine, and the Shilak Digorma, Shuari, Chisakisi Shirua, Tangan Garasine, Shine, Chisashine Juba in the Shine Tobia Vainea, Doni Dome Vaina, and the Shine Kazio Comba in the Numo Panto Mares. And the Yajik Doni Doba in the Shine Matobaina. And Jetonia Katsu Combinea, and you mob panto mares. Cisa, Denez and you mob pampala, and Tombanilla maybe she loves on Jocum Gores, Matoshan, you mob panto mare. Cisa, you mob pamatumna, that coalitor to mare, Denza, Tarva San Jacob to mares, because it didn't mind on the dig or shirwa.
Good evening. Some time ago, we completed looking at the 6 perfections that bodhisattvas train in. And now we've come to the next major outline, which is looking at the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So last week, we started to look at this outline. And it was mentioned then that even if someone has achieved calm abiding, single-pointed concentration, but they have not realized emptiness, the afflictions cannot be eliminated. Conversely, if emptiness is realized, but calm abiding has not been attained, still the afflictions cannot be eliminated. And without eradicating the afflictions, liberation cannot be achieved. Without eradicating the afflictions, the amount of benefit one can be to others is greatly reduced. So that in brief is what we looked at last week.
Doni la mi pigi the Shila Sonte, Sadi, and Di Combale, Tene Combaina, the Corvetzawa, Dasi Maripa di Pantugres, Senadiro, and Zadang, Denma, kissing something ma, the Ganesha Labda that is one, Nyomomba Pangbi, Nyomomba Pangbi, Tarba Tobala, and Tombanyu, doing Chijimalopa, in Lupuda Chebra, Tope Tawas.
Now, returning to the text in page 46. So in your books, it's 4th line from the top, and so my translation is only slightly different. In order to attain liberation forever free from afflictions, mount the horse of calm abiding that does not waver when placed on the view that realizes emptiness.
Sanda Nyumumba Pampi Tarba Toba Las or that is an Anzugi, Shine Kasan Shevan, Shine to Jubia, Shine Tobiana, and Tomba Domana, and Nyumba Pampi Tarba Toptumares. Jazan Nyumumba Pampi Tarba Tobala, Nyumumba Pangu, Nyumumba Nandazawa, Dazim Maripaset Pangu, Ruada. Jazan Dazim Maripa Pampi Pane, Tarba Tobala, and the Karku was in a Tombanyi Duen, Chijumalopas, or Tombanyi Duen, the Tombanyi Dogo, Ruada. Tombanyi said the Ganeshi Lana, Tombanyi Dunda, the Carolana, Che, because a Lupa Tabalama, the Rang when you Juba said, the nigger to be Tomba de la Tombanyi Sigres, just the nigger Dunda, Chijumalopa, Manoaj Dogo, Madoyagic, Tombanyi some died, Tombanyi Dunda, Domenaya. That the Tombanyi said something Norches, come to Vena, and Numa Pantugumare, she's not Tombanyi doing Chijimalopa, and Chijimalopa. In look put a cheba, said touch chebachi. The Yagic Tomba Insare, some Bazamiagico Marua, put a cheba, the Insare, some Chabanet, Tama cheba, the Puta book. Then you go when they're in, but Pasimkit, Louis Patach, Simming Abaco, the nigger Semang may be topet. Tope Tawadi, that Tombanyi Tope Tawad, Tombanyi Tope Tawad, Esore, Tope Tawas.
Reading the whole sentence then. In order to attain liberation, forever free from afflictions, mount the horse of calm abiding that does not waver when placed in the view that realizes emptiness, the unmistaken nature of existence conclusively. This then builds on what we looked at last week. That in order to attain liberation, the afflictions have to be eradicated, and in particular amongst the afflictions, the root affliction, that of the ignorance of self-grasping. And in order to have the strength of mind that the wisdom realizing emptiness can actually uproot this primary cause of all suffering, the wisdom realizing emptiness needs to have the strength and stability of the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So here what we're seeing in this sentence is that the realization of emptiness, conjoined with the union of calm abiding meditative insight, must be correct, unmistaken. Emptiness needs to be conclusively realized. And the meaning of emptiness is that all phenomena, whatever appears to consciousness, is empty of inherent existence or empty of true existence, and exists merely as an imputation by mind, or only or solely as an imputation of mind, but not by way of its own nature at all. So that is the meaning of emptiness, and that needs to be correctly, unmistakenly, conclusively realized.
Buddha chibe tope tawa si de tongpa yi tope lo tawa si or tawa sin tongpa yi tope lo di si or na dene ge tongpa yi to chawa ina tongpa yi to dene tongpa yi to ne ga si or ne de la de mikpa la so da tawa de mikpa la yo me ba si de da tongpa yi yu mikpa de le me se si do ne bi ge yo me ting yi xin ne tu ko re so yo me be xin ne so xin ne tu ko re ji san da tongpa yi to 동반이 또 와서 미신에 덮으면은 안에 녀몽백 다스 마리바티 방투고 말아 대자 되는자 미바시데 동반이 또 다와디 미바디 유 동반이들 미네 요메바 네바 신이에서 요 미바라 요메비 신이에서 신이 두고 그래서
Again, looking at the sentence, in order to attain liberation forever free from the afflictions, mount the horse of calm abiding that does not waver when placed on the view that realizes emptiness, the unmistaken nature of existence conclusively. In meditation then, one is analyzing and comes to realize emptiness in a way that is unmistaken and conclusive, so there's no doubt at all. And then that realization is held single-pointedly so that one does not waver from the realization. It doesn't wane, one doesn't become distracted. So one realizes emptiness and then holds that realization in an unwavering manner. So the text uses the analogy of a rider mounting a horse. I'm not sure how many of you have ridden horses, but everyone's familiar with driving in a car. And the reason of this analogy is that a horse or a car will arrive at the destination together with the driver of the car or the rider of the horse. The two will come together. So similarly, the wisdom realizing emptiness together with calm abiding lead to the attainment of the goal, liberation. So both are required in order to achieve the goal. So now the text continues. Riding this horse of calm abiding, and brandishing the sharp weapon of the four great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning, free from the extremes of reification and nihilism, destroy all grasping at extremes, through generating the wisdom that correctly understands the actual meaning of emptiness and continuously expand the discriminating intelligence, realizing emptiness.
Shini tala ki shini ke tala kyune ji shini di ngane chi tu ne shi be ngane ta ta dan dewi ge umi rigbe ge tensi chenbo shi se de da ga ji jeba che go re so yu de la je ko so be nga tensi chenbo shi se de tenje gi tensi se da ji tu ge tensi se da de ne ge tensi gi yo re da de ne ge thone ga ji le de le yu de le che shi du ne shi be ngane da sherap de ge ding jin de yu de le che shi ne che de ne 제답되게 제바체 네 제바체 가르스네 대버 나와 나신 누구들 누구민도 가르스네 땡제레 선배기 땡제게 삼다지 제바체네 제바치는 누구시네 제바체 장고 그래서 제가 다음번에 띵이 신의 줍차네 델야도 제지도 네제 되네게 제바치도 갑로 양 다시 신의데 따가니고 말아데 고도 장고에서라 되네시네 두신의 제바치고 그래서 이제 리버치 뭐 시스리다 땡제게 되고 덴바마 두바레 임비 김자가서 땡제 저와 신을 뛰는 두고도 제가 덴바 줍나 간라에 맞대고 뢰파 샤발라 뭐 랑공은 줍디와 지고 그래 제가데 두용민도 아셈베게다 가서 미바로세 나라미네 곰바이나 나샤디 유다게 샤나데 뢰파 홍보랑 파뢰 따바치레스 제가 달로라 나한테 갑던 가디 간스 난 것은 강라마 랑원이 두번 남기도 왔어. 진짜 나와 나신디다 베니스투스 풍부에 때네 제바제바나 땡진 저와 좀 토는 제바제바이나 띵예메와 차고로 어두스네 리빅 제바제고 그래서 그래.
I'll read this section again. Riding this horse of calm abiding and brandishing the weapon of the four great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning, free from the extremes of reification and nihilism, destroy all grasping at extremes, through generating the wisdom that correctly understands the actual meaning of emptiness, and continuously expand the discriminating intelligence realizing emptiness. So looking at the first part of this sentence, riding this horse of calm abiding and brandishing the weapon of the four great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning. So here, what this is indicating is that the meditator has realized emptiness and is able to hold this realization of emptiness single-pointedly with calm abiding. So the mind is unwavering and undistracted. But not only that, the meditator has developed themselves to the point where whilst holding the realization of emptiness single-pointedly, they are able to continue investigating, continue analyzing without losing their calm abiding. So usually, when one first attains calm abiding, as soon as one, on an object, as soon as one tries to investigate that object further, the calm abiding is lost. But here, the yogin has developed the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, which means they are able to continue their analysis of the object without losing their concentration, their single-pointed concentration. So for example, when they're analyzing an object such as the self appears as if it is independent, it naturally appears to the mind, or spontaneously appears to the mind as if it's independent and unchanging. But itself then is investigated and realized that it is empty of inherent existence, because it doesn't exist in the way that it appears. It's empty of existing in the way that it appears. So here, the self is realized as being empty of inherent existence, and this realization of emptiness is now held with calm abiding. But the yogin then can continue to meditate and reflect that not only is the self empty of inherent existence, but it does exist as a mere imputation by mind. The self is merely imputed onto the aggregates. So this now is further reasoning, which is establishing the self as, whilst being empty, ultimately, conventionally, it exists as a mere imputation by mind. So here is further analysis. The yogin is engaging in further analysis, but is not doing so with a distracted mind. The mind is not wavering from the realization of emptiness despite further analysis. And this is the quality of the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. In this case, realizing emptiness.
Tan rikpa se de ngan ju ki gyumche samta gyumche la wor da de sheba lo rikpa se lo de mare gyumche se wor gyumche samta de rikpe tenzik chempo de ne ge gyumche samta ne ane de ne ge gyumche samta de chennem bo se de da gyumche samta ne tongpa yi topi lo di re sha se tongpa yi topi lo di ge de chennem bo tongpa yi topi lo di da chennem bo de jiba re so chennem bo se tongpa yi lo lo ko ko re.
Riding this horse of calm abiding and brandishing the sharp weapon of the four great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning. So here, this first part of the sentence emphasizes reasoning, and reasoning is by reasoning itself is based on reason. So let's retranslate that. Analysis is based on reasons. The four great methods of Madhyamaka analysis would be another way to express it, is based on reasoning. And that is the sharp weapon. It's analysis based on reasoning. So in dependence on one's study, one is able to engage in profound analysis. And that is what the yogin is doing here.
Chönnyambo 동방이 금천 실에 때네 동방이 또베 로디 chönnyam보제 대 또베 로디 게요도 안 가르치 그랬으네 타진이 미디에 탐지 지바제 시도 타진스도 가 템퍼트 받지 받지 가 템퍼강사 템퍼트 받지 메침바 풍부 템퍼트 받지 메침바 된진디기 가른 증거선 타르진 바스네 템퍼 메나야 나와나신 랑원의 갈라마도 뢰파 샤발마도 랑원도 나와네 요래 섬 진료반자 탈매바지 요바진바 탈진바시오로 데니게 탈진비기 미바디 가서 갈라마도 뢰파 샤발마 랑원도 요바지 요바 삼단 거로와 제가 동방이 또 별로디기 매바데 매바 통고를 제가 탈진이 미바 미디디 미바데스 미바디 파매바 쇠바레서 미디 탈진이 미디에 탐지 지바제 바스 파가고레스 가진데 동산 두고로 와서래.
Sentence continues, riding this horse of calm abiding and brandishing the weapon, the sharp weapon of the four great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning. So again, the sharp weapon that the yogin is utilizing is that of analysis based on reasoning, in particular the reasoning of the Prasankika. And that it continues, the sharp weapon of the four great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning, free from the extremes of reification and nihilism, destroying all grasping at extremes. So here, because of the correct analysis based on reasons, the yogin isn't falling into the extreme of either reification or nihilism. The yogin has realized that phenomena are not existent by way of their own essence or their own nature. No phenomenon exists, has its own findable self or its own findable nature. That it is rather empty of existing this way. But that doesn't mean the object is non-existent. Rather, objects do exist on a conventional level as mere imputations by mind. So here, the yogin is able, through profound reasoning, not fall into either the extreme of reification or that of nihilism, reification believing that a phenomenon exists by way of its own nature, or nihilism, that phenomena do not exist at all, but rather they are free of either extremes because of relying on the great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning, or in English, middle way reasoning. Due to their reasoning, they walk on the middle path between either extreme, the extreme of reification or nihilism.
데네게다 미디 지바 제반자 데코나유 되 수준의 주베 셰랍스디 데코나유 동방이 된 도베 셰랍스 오르와다 주바스 도바다거든 롱 주바스 오르와자 유 동방이 제제 데려야 sinne topo sherap siwar. Di sherap digi ane nene gombale dene ane garchigasin de khwana yotubi ludi yebar ze sido ludi di ya nipa char tangore tangu gore siwar da nipa char tang yebar ze gobi chir sido nipa char tangu gore siwar.
The sentence concludes, through generating the wisdom that correctly understands the actual meaning of emptiness and continuously expand the discriminating intelligence realizing emptiness. So I'll read this part again. Through generating the wisdom that correctly understands the actual meaning of emptiness. So this now has been achieved through meditating with the sharp weapon of analysis, utilizing the 4 great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning. The actual meaning of emptiness has been realized, and that continues, and continuously expand the discriminating intelligence realizing emptiness. In other words, through repeatedly over a sustained period engaging in this meditation again and again, one's realization of emptiness expands, or another way to express expands is that it grows in strength. The profundity of the realization, the strength of the realizing consciousness, this grows.
Dalai Ladong Gomnandi Sungi Saradile, Karasungurasan, Jaza Dambo, and Dombanyato, what is Dombanyato, then Dombanyato, Sevi Chela, and you tell it Dombanyato, Beton, Lodelia, and Shine, Nyalan, Shine Yavache, Shine Sarvada, the Shine Yavache, then it Dombanyato. Then don't buy to Sunday, then you tell me that the Benanga to Nga said that mix it in Nga, some Dava and Nga to Nga, Rangi to Don you combine, don't buy La Chevachina, just added me by the Nga, the Miche, the Nga de la Tichidu, mean Lola, announced with the Ngadicanis language. That Lodi, Shinediki, you de la Tichidu nation being Ane, that you Yan Sherepki. Ngadi lola nawa na shin ka du se nyema nga zo tong yin tong ba yin je ba chi du ka bla nga se di mi ba je lola ka nang sam da di nawa na shin chi an ji ge phum be de na ka du mi du je ba da ji ba cha ge se ji ba de yu ye re de an je ba de ne gi je ba che wo re so ta na nga zo nye le shin ye ma zhu ba na de ne je ba che ne tong ba yin du go de yin ne ya ji yu de le zhe ji du ne ne ding yin zin zhe ji du ne xin be nga ne be nga ne je ba che du 띵이진에 야파 예두가 스럽지다. 야 띵이진에 제지도 내리베 갑라 제바제 마두가지 용거로 와다. 제가 니네자 니가 용해기다 장으로 지긴서라도 제지도 네 니네 파 제바도 제 장도 안 될이야 넘긴 나싱아도 전신에 두베 갑라 전시신 땜바 나신 되네기 제지도 네 바디 파 제바치도 갑라 제지 띵이진 디파 얘기도 간에 도셔야지. 삼제바제 전시신 땡제 가지래 도시네 제전 바제바제 제바지 두신 제바지 공부 두 공부 제도다 가니갈이야 게 니발 마스는 첼첼첼 땜땜 루루와.
Just reading part of the sentence again. Brandishing the sharp weapon of the 4 great methods of Madhyamaka reasoning, free from the extremes of reification and nihilism, destroy all grasping at extremes, through generating the wisdom that correctly understands the actual meaning of emptiness and continuously expand or strengthen the discriminating intelligence realizing emptiness. So here, what in this sentence is explicitly being presented is the need to realize emptiness with the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So most yogins will have attained first a realization of calm abiding, and then, we'll first realize emptiness and then gain a realization of calm abiding, although that certainly can be achieved. First there's the realization of calm abiding and then emptiness. However, usually when calm abiding is first attained, it will be on a coarse object, such as a Buddha image. Here, having already attained calm abiding on such an object, the yogin will engage in the meditation on emptiness and realize emptiness, but not yet with the stability of calm abiding. So the yogin will continuously, having already achieved calm abiding, but on a coarser object, will engage in the meditation on the subtler object of emptiness, first seeing how the self, for example, appears, which is as being independent and unchanging, realize then with analysis the self does not exist in this way, but is empty of existing in the way that it appears, that it does not exist in the way that it appears, it's empty of true existence. And then try and take, now having realized emptiness, try and hold that with calm abiding. And through training repeatedly, eventually, this prior realization of calm abiding will be able to hold the subtle object of emptiness. So then the yogin will continue with the same meditation, seeing how the self appears, investigating to see if it exists in the way that it appears or not, coming to realize that it's empty of true existence, and now, through training, will be able to, with ever greater ease, hold this realization of emptiness with calm abiding. But as soon as the yogin then tries to investigate at a deeper level, the calm abiding or the single-pointed concentration is lost. And the mind becomes distracted. Nevertheless, the yogin continues repeatedly over a sustained period and will come to the point where they realize emptiness, hold it with calm abiding, and they can continue their analysis without losing single-pointed concentration. And this is where they have attained the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on the subtle object of emptiness. So here, this sentence is encouraging one to train in the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, or as our text has, I think, a special insight, and to train in this way so that one can hold the realization of the subtle object of emptiness with the single-pointed concentration, which is calm abiding, and then be able to engage in further analysis, which is the union of calm abiding and meditative insight.
Lam Rim Text Anjerim Chiki Lames Ziji Samden Zamla Kowayi Zawa Jubi Nuba Matonshi Shine Lamna Devi Sherabki Jisam Jeya Nyumo Midobe Inlu Puda Jubi Sherabdi Miyo Shine Tenla Guneni Tadal Umi Jibi Tunengi Tadal Migde Tamji Jijibi Tsujun Jube Yangbe Sherabki Dingi Dobe Lode Yepartes Jisons.
Continuing in the text, there's a quotation from Geshe Rinpoche from his Song of Spiritual Experience. So my translation is very similar to this. It says the verses 35 to 37. Single-pointed concentration alone is not recognized as having the power to cut the root of cyclic existence. Yet, with wisdom separated from the path of calm abiding, the afflictions will not be overcome no matter how much you analyze. Wisdom that decisively determines the actual state of existence, mounted upon the horse of unwavering calm abiding, and with the sharp weapon of reasoning of the middle way, free of extremes, destroys all mental fabrications grasping at such extremes. Through this vast wisdom probing with precision, enhance your intelligence, realizing emptiness.
The
meaning of these three verses is as we covered in the second half of last week's class, as well as thus far tonight.
Something said, some said, she near top, dame about topic, maybe lot, Machiabaina, some said this word, she near top, dame about topic, Tao Machiabain, Matovaina, then she near some ye, the nigga, she near some, the nation de la Kaze, Yamba things in Lia, near Chakazo com Japtova in Aya, the nigga things in Della, Kovetzawa, Jebig, Nuba Matonshin, said, Kovetzawa. 다진 녀모발 누기민도스 제자디 고유 다진 녀모바 매바 쇠퇴게 누바민도스 되라 누바 통민도스 오라 고유자 제자디 니팅이 진지 가제 공바 있나요 아니 다음에 다진 고유자와 다진 되라 누기민도 지금 다진데 빵토민도스 오라
Looking at the first two lines, Single-pointed concentration alone is not recognized as having the power to cut the root of cyclic existence. So we looked at this last week, and the meaning is quite straightforward here, but it's important. No matter how powerful one's single-pointed concentration or calm abiding is, that alone cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. In fact, it can't even harm self-grasping. Single-pointed concentration or calm abiding alone cannot even harm the root cause of suffering, self-grasping.
네, 가르스는 신의 톱제 다음에 마토바 있나? 네, 신의 토바 있네야. 되네기 네 코알을 두고 말 가르스는 신의 가와기 그랬으냐? 코알이 거래서. 코알이 거래서. 하나 대발이 하나 소소멜이 거래서. 지난 되네 개반자 코르에 내라 개발. 제선 코알이 거래. 캬바두주 둥아디 빵투고 말했어. 제산 코알에 네투고 저투고 말했어. 가져 콤바이나 되네게다. 아주 낭바다 되네 신의 토가 망부. 아니 되네게 다음에 마토바죠. 검제된 마시도양 즉 코에내려야 기르고 그래서 제가 디네자 코알라 코아 방고 말 코마 방바데 가르쳐서는 코에 자와 다진 마릭 받을 누고 말 와시래.
So there will be many Buddhists and non-Buddhists who have attained the realization of calm abiding, but not the realization of selflessness. Not having realized the selflessness of persons, work together with calm abiding, there's no way freedom from suffering can be attained. Calm abiding alone, calm abiding that is not conjoined with the realization of the selflessness of persons, only will lead to repeated, uncontrolled rebirth in samsara, because calm abiding alone does not counteract the root cause of suffering, and therefore one remains in samsara. So therefore, Buddhists and non-Buddhists who have only attained calm abiding, but not conjoined it with the wisdom realizing emptiness, will not even have started to counteract the root cause of cyclic existence, let alone sever it.
신의 점 토바 점기 저기 녀모바 되비 녀모바 원주와 점냐마 매바스 두고 말해. 내가 원주와 점냐 매바스 두고 말. 지나다 단 녀모바 마방바에 내가 원주와 매바 쇠발아야 신의 톱사제 양자 신의 톱디 되네양 제 람샤다 지팀비 시란 안바징에 람세디 아니 공고를 ben에 되발야 다제 되바체 배체 통통 아니 내나자 마보 녀라서 보시고 강하시오도 다 델레 되네다 삼단 당보디 배마세 내디게데 아니 강하충아 내나주 뇽아 체링와 내야고 데네도선 도신 시란 안바징에 람 도신의 곰야지 공고래 데네 곰제 제사 신에게 줍되는 것이 음식세다 되네 톱제 되네 시라나마제 람곰제 대변이 뭐 온유와 방바이나 되네 코와를 두고 말되네야 아니 감고말 하다라 수단 수멜이야 수단 수멜에 기도바 용고래 내 신이 토바 잠기 되네 마고마는 수단 수멜에 기도고 말해 제사 신이 토바 잠기 아니 고 되발이야게 신에 되발이 기는 마도 The
attainment of calm abiding alone, or mere calm abiding, as has been mentioned, does not even begin to harm the root cause of cyclic existence. That being said, though, as we looked at a couple of months ago, calm abiding can be utilized to temporarily suppress the afflictions of the desire realm. Cannot eradicate them, but can suppress them, but suppress them only temporarily. As we looked at previously, the way this is done is through, once a calm abiding is achieved, and one looks at, through having achieved calm abiding, one seeing the pleasures of having attained a mind of the form realm, looks at the qualities, the bliss or the qualities or the pleasures of the form realm, and gives rise to a determined aspiration to achieve ever greater qualities of minds of the form realm, and together with this, looks at all the faults of the desire realm. So in other words, having experienced or attained now a mind, the mind of calm abiding, a mind of the form realm, seeing the benefits or the pleasures of the form realm and how they so far outweigh the pleasures of the desire realm, as well as seeing the many faults of the desire realm, one gives rise to determination to develop ever greater qualities or levels of concentration of the form realm, and later perhaps the formless realm. So in this way, one suppresses, temporarily overcomes the desire realm afflictions, and therefore is not disturbed by desire realm afflictions. But one still may be, one will still have, though, the afflictions associated with the form realm. So here, the causes one is creating is for rebirth in the form, or perhaps the formless realm in future lives, but not in creating causes for rebirth in the desire realm. Nevertheless, though, one is still trapped within samsara. One is only suppressing the desire realm afflictions, not harming them beyond that.
Nibade Shini Lamna Devi Sherabki, Jism Jeka, Yomo Midope, Sidda, Jizada, Tomba Toba Yinayang, Tomba Tobe Sherabki by Shin Tomba Yilimi, Shine Drume by Shine Mebaina, and Shini Lamna Devi Sherab City, Shine Tomba Yilimi, Shine Yomo Madubachi, Shine Matobache, Tomba Tobe Sherab, Gazeo Combine, Jism Jechan, Gazeo Combine, Sore, Jizan Yomo Midos. That
was the first two lines. Single-pointed concentration alone is not recognized as having the power to cut the root of cyclic existence. Then the next two lines. Yet, with wisdom separated from the path of calm abiding, the afflictions will not be overcome, no matter how much you analyze. There's two we looked at last week, and this is the converse. So here, the first couplet was saying if you achieve calm abiding alone. Here, the second is if you achieve wisdom alone, but not calm abiding. Same result. You will not be able, or similar result rather, one will not be able to eradicate the afflictions, no matter how much one analyzes. So wisdom separated from the path of calm abiding. In other words, where one cultivates the wisdom realizing emptiness, but doesn't conjoin it with calm abiding, one will not be able to cut the root of cyclic existence either.
chung chugu de nyomo be sabonde dazin kor kimajubana dazin sabon meba sutu go mara penanga zo singil zawal ma sona sabonde mani sanal ha de ben di gang le yoba de kaji chebe ne ya je yong ro ka ya je du ji la je yong ya je sha ne ya je yong ro ji sang ko sabon meba su ma do ban za ko le ge yu sabon meba su ma do ban za nyomo ba dazin de 다음에 동반이 또 배셔로 곰가제 곰바 신의 마두바체 동반이를 비비 신의 마톱나야 동반이 또 로지네 디가제 곰바이나 난 곰고어데 디안 곰디 윤리부 템부 슈리 두고 말아서 띵이진 신의 마두바인자 또 곰나 깔라 가용하다 또 곰디네 아지 남이야 저 연구로와 동반이 또 로디 또 곰이 아지 남이야 쇼르제 아지 파 예드라 니네치도 nyomo bade kombe ne kala nyomo bade de shu chung jogu orde ne ko sabon yo benza yaji ya nyomo bade sabon digi tine nyomo ba denze marik bade fa tuslo le ya da dene gi tikene ya nyomo le ya nga yonguro dine za karasene 동반이 신의 마두바나 동반이 또 공반 dakar hashi chigni gomnya ji ba yi ro da ya ji namya shi ro bo ba jina dine yanza ko 동반이 또 ba re de ina lo di nibe chenbo ji cha tu yo ma re nibe chenbo cha tu ma da ba jina dasin de ya je ji du ni je gomje mi ba de la mi je je ji du ni je ga je gomba na lusim la gang ai me de gom tu ge nibe de le yo ma re di ma le ban za ngang de deus kom ada kala ka du se sha sha dan ji ada deus kom oda de ji je ho ji je dan ko de ni ji da de se mari pa de pang tu go ma les ni go ma nyomo pang tu ma le se di se wo do.
The first two lines present that calm abiding alone will not be able to harm their afflictions. Suppress them, yes, but not eradicate them at all. The second two lines, this shows that wisdom alone can harm the afflictions, but not eradicate them. So what these two couplets have in common is that neither method of calm abiding alone or calm abiding without wisdom, or the second, wisdom without calm abiding, neither can lead to liberation, neither can cut the root of cyclic existence. But the first, that of calm abiding alone, can temporarily suppress the afflictions of the desire realm, but that's all. The second, though, wisdom alone, wisdom not conjoined with calm abiding, this, though, can harm the afflictions. It certainly can harm the ignorance of self-grasping, and thereby weaken all the other resulting afflictions, such as pride and attachment and anger and jealousy. So, meditating on emptiness, gaining whatever quality of realization one achieves, this has an effect of weakening our afflictions, but it cannot cut the root of the afflictions. So to the extent that one realizes emptiness, develops wisdom, one will thereby weaken our ignorance and the resulting afflictions, such as attachment, anger, pride, and so forth. However, because this wisdom realizing emptiness is not conjoined with calm abiding, that wisdom, that consciousness of wisdom, remains weak and unstable. So when one engages in the cultivation of wisdom, realizes emptiness, all too quickly one's distracted because one's mind does not have the stability of single-pointed concentration. Therefore, one's realization of emptiness is weak, too weak to cut the root of self-grasping, cut the root of all our suffering. Wisdom alone, though, can weaken ignorance and the resulting afflictions, but not sever it. So that's the meaning of these two lines, and we should take them together with the one meaning of, do not be satisfied with either realization, either the realization of calm abiding alone, or the realization of emptiness alone. One needs both.
아데마 인루 푸다 주비 셰랍데 유메 시네 달라 괴네니 타르루메 리베 쳔네기 타진미데 탐지 지버치스 안에 추신 주비 양베 셰랍게 되니 또 별로리 개발세사데 안다데 대신에 하다 드린시야게디 니스 디시야데 지바던다 지바차고래.
What's in the root text, Song of Spiritual Experience, that's verse 35, and that's what we covered last week. Now the next two verses, 36 and 37, are what we looked at tonight. Wisdom that decisively determines the actual state of existence, mounted upon the horse of unwavering calm abiding, and with the sharp weapon of reasoning of the middle way, free of extremes, destroys all mental fabrications, grasping at such extremes. Through this vast wisdom probing with precision, enhance your intelligence, realizing emptiness.
Then Java Chidu Kabla. And Zechidu Nebi Neshimbi Kabla, Zechibe Jebachi Matubache, Jebachena, Shine Mebache. Shine the Tata Duty Kabla, Jebachi to Meba, Nesudin the Chalurvada. That the names are done on the Kajuko, Zechidu Neshimbi and Jebachi Tuyegi, Nubadipa, Jandor Chekora. The names are that is in Yeshua the Jibare, in Lu Puda Chibi, Sherapti, Sidu, Domba New Duen, and then Chika Tarchimbi Duen, Manova, Tata Dodobi, Sherapche. Then he Domba Tobi Lodigi, Dotsane, then you may Sinet and La Guneni, Sidu. Yu la zechidu neshin be ngane, zechidu neshin be ngane, and the Garja was Tajal Ume Ribu, Tuning, he said, Tajina, sorry, Ume Riba, Dendiki, Den Gumsen Sam Daja, the Tian, Dendiki Sam Daja, Demamajuba Sam Daya, Dendiki Gumsen, then the Jig to Jase, some Gumsen Genet, Demamajuba Saya, and Tashili Miki Gumsen Genet, Demamajuba Sam Daya, Lucian Gumsen, the Negi, Mambo Kare Sam Dina, Sosugeta, Gomba, Karachevi, not Dendiki Sam Daja, and Gumsen Sam Datuchin, Demamajuba Sam Datuchin, utilization nation and do Chevachelo Paduchin, Dingid, and Jandor Chores. See what that.
To understand this, the 36th verse from the root text, we hold in mind the objective, which is liberation from suffering. To achieve that objective, we know we need to develop the wisdom realizing emptiness, and it needs to have sufficient strength to eradicate completely the root cause of all suffering, the ignorance of self-grasping. And the stages of training that one goes through is pointed out in the sequence of the lines of verse 36. The only way there can be some variance is whether calm abiding is realized before or after emptiness. But calm abiding will almost certainly be realized first on an object far coarser than a subtle object like emptiness. So here, turning to the verse, the first line, wisdom that decisively determines the actual state of existence. In other words, wisdom that decisively determines, or without any error, without any doubt, any mistake at all, the actual state of existence, in other words, emptiness. So here the first line refers to the wisdom realizing emptiness, and it's a correct and unmistaken realization. And the second line, so in the English, they're all gathered together, so it'll be the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth. The next line then, mounted upon the horse of unwavering calm abiding. So emptiness is realized. Then the yogin takes the prior attainment of calm abiding and tries to conjoin the two, the realization of emptiness with calm abiding. And that's not done easily, it's not done immediately. It requires repeated effort over a sustained period. But eventually, this is done. Calm abiding previously was attained, emptiness is now realized, those two one tries to conjoin. So that's the second step. Then there comes with the third. And with a sharp weapon of reasoning of the middle way free of extremes. So here, once the realization of emptiness has been conjoined with the stability of the unwavering mind of calm abiding, then the yogin will try to analyze further. But each time they do so, the calm abiding is lost. So again, they will go through the process of reflecting on reality, realizing emptiness, holding it again with calm abiding. So in this verse, those first two steps, and now with relative ease, they realize emptiness, they hold it with calm abiding, they analyze further, and they lose it. They lose their stability. And then they do the process again and again. And this process of analysis is what's referred to in the third line, and with a sharp weapon of reasoning of the middle way, free of extremes. And eventually, they are able to, as in the first line, realize emptiness, as in the second line, hold it with calm abiding, and then, as in the third line, analyze in a deep, penetrative manner without losing the calm abiding. So here, and with a sharp weapon of reasoning of the middle way, free of extremes, in other words, they have achieved the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, realizing emptiness. Coming to the fourth line, destroys all mental fabrications, grasping at such extremes. And that can only be done through the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, realizing emptiness.
Jazanda taral ume ribi chönen gisi ume rikpala tene tongbanyi tobe lotela ya chönen bose de chönen banashinche chönen di nene toande karchi orasne tarzin mikte tamche jikparchi ese tarzin sedi ni gansa da temba tuba jimbe tenzi digi mikpare karsan gansa temba tuba de di mikpa jikparchi girisi de pa temba tuba se zagi ni mindu senpeki de pa gago ore sherwada ne tarzin mikte tamche jikparchi ese.
The fourth line there, destroys all mental fabrications grasping at extremes. So here then again, this is the result of the union of calm abiding and penetrative insight or special insight, meditative insight. With these together, one can destroy all mental fabrications grasping at such extremes, and in other words, one gains a powerful realization of emptiness.
다 추진 제배 양배 시럽게 dingi dobe lori gebrase sidu denegi lodi udu senyanne yanu 추진 제바 sidu denegi ne ting진le 제시 네네 유 동방이 제바치 네 유 동방이 도be lodi sigura 추진 제배 lodi denegi 시럽디 야네 야도 공발에 되네 아니 dingi dobe lodi 동방이 도be denegi ting진le 내신병 안에 동방이래 제바치 lodi 파 뉴바처야 gebar 당고 gebrase then
in the next verse from the root text, the Song of Spiritual Experience, verse 37, the two lines, the last two that we have here. Through this vast wisdom probing with precision, enhance your intelligence realizing emptiness. Through this vast wisdom probing with precision. So in other words, the wisdom realizing emptiness, this is a realization that is probing with precision. So we have the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, and thereby are able to probe ever further, and the realization is in accordance with reality, so therefore it's probing with precision. And then the next line, enhance your intelligence realizing emptiness. And here the word enhance is similar to what we had before. It means through engaging in this meditation repeatedly over a sustained period, one's consciousness, which is the wisdom realizing emptiness, grows ever more powerful, and one's realization becomes ever more profound.
Deni gomkandi da sui gomgore sna gawa gomgore lamna lam nyamle maje lam gyula maje la tomba nyela mibigi denegi shila sonde gomya yomare gom changdor shedi lam gyula maje la yomare da gawa gomgore sene ngazu nyandye le nyandye meni cholam chembo asedi cholam nane cholam dangbo thoya de gom yomare niba den cholam chembo asedi di cholam chembo topsadi nyandye da raje ne nyandye cholam chembo da raje cholam chembe di negapsu konzo gomgore tomba nyelu shila 다 shila sunriyo gomkani sui gomgore lamla mashubi gansai gomya yomare 동반이 람이 실라 손지 거다. 다 수유 공고를 생각 좀 람라 주현. 나 람가 주슈는 차상 공고에서 차상 공고 말에 초람바라 초람 충원의 딩다 첨보서 저러와 초람 충원의 딩이 내가 수 검토고 말에. 다 초람 첨보하지. 년도에 초람 첨보하세 니 공고래. 니 라제 초람 첨보하지 공고래. 다 장주 선바이나 아니 녀 딩이 돼 마시 손다.
Amongst the practitioners who are the practitioners who are actually engaging in the cultivation of the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness, so all three of those, the object is emptiness, and the consciousness is the union, is trying to develop the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on that object emptiness, is necessarily someone who has attained a path. Necessarily someone who has attained a path. And that would be a path of accumulation. And the path of accumulation, the first of the 5 paths, has 3 divisions. First, the small path of accumulation is achieved, that's developed into the middling level, and then the great level of the path of accumulation. And this then is referring in terms of the type of practitioner, the hero and solitary realizer, in other words, the Theravada practitioner, they will be on the great level of the path of accumulation. So the highest level, the third of the three levels of the path of accumulation. So they will be a practitioner on the great level of the path of accumulation of the Theravada type, will be trying to realize emptiness with a union of calm abiding and meditative insight.
mini dangbo na koran nyandu lam da rangje lam kang la lobchong ma che dangbo koran janju sembe lam lobchong che de janju semba solam chungmo da ding da chenpo yorwa solam chungmo da ding ine ga so shila son de gom go mare dina shin solam che janju semba de ni ge dangbo ine ringye ba se ko dangbo ne nyandu lam da rangje lam kang ya lobchong ma che ba dangbo de koran janju sem lam nyam lobchong che janju semba solam ba chenpo digi da dongba ni le mi be shila son de gom go re.
So that's for the hero and solitary realizer practitioners, in other words, the Theravada practitioners. Those of Bodhisattva lineage, so here we look at first those of definite Bodhisattva lineage. So these would be practitioners who, when they first achieve a path, it is the path of a Bodhisattva. They will develop bodhicitta first. So they've realized bodhicitta, they will already have a realization of calm abiding in order to become a bodhisattva, and they will progress to the same three levels of the path of accumulation, but of a bodhisattva. So they'll progress through the small and the middling level of the path of accumulation, and when they achieve the great level of the path of accumulation, it's here when they will train in the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness. Prior to this point, they do not need to train in the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness. But this is for the bodhisattva of definite lineage.
Many Nyandugi Jolam Topsar, Rangi Jolam Topsar ne, and the Jig Mania, and the Janju Semlia, Janju Sem Yamne Jeje, Janju Semba Chavaina, the Janju Semba Solambada, Chungodan, Jingda, Karina, Contricula, Dombani let me be Shila Sonja Conto Trupsawa, and Zan Della, Dombani let me be Shila Sonja Sadu Trukoa Yomada Gondola. Nyandugi Jolamda. And then Yandu Lam Jolam top sarche, Raya Jolam top sarche, Jenna Conti Domba Lucilla Jupsarova, it's not top sarche, that Janjusem Yamlen Jeje, Janjusem Chavaina, Conjugula, Janjusem Solamba Chunga, the Jing that Chimpiku, Kachazan Gula, the Dombanya Mishila, so to Jupsawa, and Zago Dombanya Mishila, Jupua Yomar, that Delia, that's Sonam society, Zorchigore. That Jolambang on the Sonnet, Solamba Yora, to whom a judgment by Chasayur, that Solam Jolambang on the so much Kugore, Jolambang Matobina, Solam Tobas in Idioma, Jolambang on the Son left you, that Jolamba Top Sawa left you, then a Tonamba Yore, Jolagom Lamba Yore, Judgment by Yore, Chasayur, not Chasayur.
For a different type of bodhisattva, the bodhisattva of indefinite lineage. So that was the bodhisattva of definite lineage, who, when they first achieve a path, is the path of a bodhisattva. The bodhisattva of indefinite lineage, when they first achieve a path, it is the path of the hero or solitary realizer. So with the objective of the Theravada practitioners. So now, how would they proceed when they enter into the paths of a bodhisattva? This then depends on how far they had progressed as a hero or solitary realizer. So if they had only progressed as far as the hero or solitary realizer path of accumulation, but not having progressed to the path of preparation, the second of the five paths, before changing lineage and entering into the bodhisattva path of accumulation, then because as a hero solitary realizer, they on the path of their accumulation, they would not have achieved a union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness. Now, having entered the bodhisattva path of accumulation, they would, when achieving the great level of path of accumulation, then have to strive in attaining the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness. So again, just to make sure this is a little clear, a practitioner first enters the hero or solitary realizer path of accumulation and doesn't conclude that path, so only stays on the path of accumulation, but then develops bodhicitta and enters into the bodhisattva path of accumulation. Having entered now the bodhisattva path of accumulation, they will progress through the small level, the middling level, and when they come to the great level, the bodhisattva's path of accumulation, here they too need to train in the union of calm abiding meditative insight on emptiness, because they have not achieved this. But a practitioner, so that's one type of bodhisattva of indefinite lineage. A second type of bodhisattva of indefinite lineage would also have first achieved a path of a hero solitary realizer, but progressed further, progressed to perhaps having achieved the hero solitary realizer level, the path of preparation, or path of seeing, or path of meditation, and then developed bodhicitta and entered into the Mahayana path of accumulation. Such a practitioner who previously had achieved the second to fourth levels of the hero solitary realizer paths, that namely those of preparation, seeing, or meditation, they have achieved a union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness. So this previously had been achieved. When they now develop bodhicitta, they still have that realization of emptiness conjoined with the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. It's not lost or diminished in any way. Their focus then is solely on the accumulation of merit. So they do not need to strive to newly develop the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness, because this was achieved when they were on the hero and solitary realizer paths of preparation or seeing or meditation. So here, when they are on the bodhisattva path of accumulation, their emphasis is on cultivating merit.
Shila lakton di gyule kien de ko jolamba chasong gore jolamba che gore dina chen rangja cholamba chembo di tomba shila tomba ni le shila sun de tup ne dus komje koran gyule shila sun de pa su kien de an ko ni rangja jolamba charo gore dina shin da ngan ji Geshe Thubten Rabten na ji so ma cholan chembo di tomba ni le mi bi da shine shila sun de ma to ba ina du shin da shila sun de tupje koran gyule shila sun de komje shila sun de rang koran gyule kien de koran chasum jolamba charo gore.
The point of progressing from the path of preparation, the point of progressing from the path of accumulation to the path of preparation, no matter what type of practitioner one is, hira or solitary realization, otherwise Thevadan, or that of the bodhisattva, the point where one progresses from the great level of the path of accumulation to the path of preparation is where one attains the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness. That is the point of progression. So if, as a hero solitary realizer practitioner, one has attained the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on the object of emptiness, one will have achieved the path of preparation. If one then develops bodhicitta, one then enters the path of accumulation of a bodhisattva. And one's focus then is not on on developing the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness, because that's already been achieved. But now bodhicitta has been newly attained. So here one focuses on accumulating merit.
Dene migbalas Mipala Zejido Yoa Mepor Joba Le, Shinegi Dingin Rupar Mase, Zeji be Dingin La Nebe Ngangne, De Konani Donla Sujun Jube, Sosoto be Sherapki Jebe Yang, Yilugi Dongbani Donla Yoa Meba Shindo Tembe Dingin Jeba, Tone, Shila Sunde Jubla Sida. The Shila Sun Jubsut Shikorda.
Now the text continues, and the text presents how to achieve the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So now near below the root verse on page 46, as stated, merely accomplishing the concentration that abides calmly when placed unwaveringly upon its object is not sufficient. A mind that rests in single-pointed concentration and analyzes with wisdom that distinguishes the various levels of reality, i.e. discerns the modes of suchness, gives birth to a concentration resting firmly and unwaveringly in the meaning of emptiness, the way things are.
Mibala Zejido Yoa Maybe Jobala Shinegi Dingin Rupar Mase, Dingin Zejido Nedibi Gabla Comne Ruba Shine Dugorva. That Zejido Nebe Dingin Ane, Dingin La Nebe Ane, Zejido Nebe Ane, and Tombanila Digi, Jebachidanga, Tombanil Miba Zeju, Ding Ane, and the Jig. The Kimson Samta Jebachedu, and called Gabrielia, and she Mevacha, Diane Gabriel Dusin, you Timbu Chagoma, Tu so Gomje, Dineane, Yadu Yana, and a Gombe, Gomba, Letene Carionsene, Dene, Yudi, Dingits in the Yu decision nation, Bangane, Sosor Jebe, Sherapki Pa, Jene, Jedu Jambigi, Lusim Shindu Javi, Devasas, to go, Egere, Lusim Shindu Java. Lusim Shindu Javi, Deva, the Jedu Jambing Ane, and you don't buy in the Zeju, the need you get things in the Togo, Regajade. The nigger Jambi Sherapki, thing in the Togo, the Shila son dress at Toba is what done. Chazan Ligor Dedima, the Sherapki Jeba, Yinu, Tobe, Della, Yoameba. Shindu Dembigi Dingis and Jeba, said Chazan, Zeju, you don't buy in Zeju, nation Bangane, Soto Sheraki Deba, Gabriel Yantic, Jebi Gabla, Dingis in the Minibas, Yantic, Dingis in the Jeba Jemato, Yorova, the Kizing, Danga Shilason to Gombe Gabla, to so Gom, Ganzam Chiglia, you don't buy in the Zeshim, nation Bangane, Jejang, Ganesh Jebana, Sherap Digida. Dingin nation Bangane, that Sherap Jeje, Jedub Yatabi Lusim Shindu Jawa Deva, Shindu Javi Devash top. The Nigi Deva Tovaza, the Nigi Deva Tovadu, that the Shilasondes Tobares. Jizan Jedub Yatang Bigi, then a Jebi Tobi, then you don't buy Nidelia, Jidara Gadi, Gandhi, Nevan, Ganes Devina, Dada, due to Gadi, due to begin. Dingins in Tugu Saradangele. The
meaning of this is, first, when one achieves calm abiding on any object, the attainment of calm abiding on that object is marked by the arisal of the bliss of physical and mental pliancy. So when one is holding an object unwaveringly, single-pointedly, but that is not accompanied by physical and mental bliss, one has not yet achieved actual calm abiding. So the attainment of physical and mental bliss of pliancy is the mark of calm abiding being attained on a particular object, whatever that object may be. And when the object is, whether the object is coarse, such as a Buddha image, or subtle, such as emptiness, when that object is held with calm abiding, the yogin will be experiencing physical and mental bliss. As soon as though they start to analyze, that bliss will be lost, because the mind now is wavering and calm abiding is lost. But when the union of calm abiding and meditative insight is achieved on whatever object they may be, again, whether it's a coarser object of meditation or a subtle object of meditation such as emptiness, the yogin will be able to hold the object with calm abiding and experience the bliss of physical and mental pliancy, and then continue to analyze without losing that bliss. And the yogin will be able to analyze as much as they wish, whilst experiencing the bliss of pliancy, and, of course, holding the object single-pointedly. When that object is emptiness, that is when the yogin knows they have achieved the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness. In other words, they are able to analyze without losing single-pointed concentration, without losing the bliss of physical and mental pliancy.
Shila Sundir Juba Las, the Niki Zumba Yatsen by Nyamdo, Molam Yulu Chene, Bacha Jopa like Bedis. Andi, Zumba Yatsen noise, Yatsen Nyamdo, and then Molam Yudu Chene, Bacha Jopa like Bedis.
Then this paragraph concludes. Seeing this, appreciate how wonderful is the effort made to accomplish concentration combined with wisdom. Make a sublime wish towards this end, and then plant its seed forever.
Dadidi Shila Sundrio Comia di Sui Kungo se Lam Yamlen Jihendi, Tompanya maybe Shila Sundrio Comkendi, Lam Yuleki second, Solam Batigil Mato Solan Chebo di Gemado come to go Martanga come to a Merwa. Chizaden, Dini and Zada, Nyomomba Kan, Kiegi, Gutsavi, Judy, Dasin Mariba, Dinzi Mariba rest. Chizan Dinzi Mariba di Pasabona Cheba Pang Big, Niembodi, Comegi, Lodi, Nubadi Suldusene. Tomba Nila Mine, Tomba Nin Machine, Tichu Neshi Bengane, Cheba Chedo Gitambe, Sherap Chiki, the Nigi Sherap, Dene Shineda, Tichu Neshi Bengane, Chidar Cheba Chedo Gitambe, Sherap Dini body, Sundu Jibu, Loni body, Comiodu, Lodella Dene, that didn't say Maribo come to the Yamsamba, Yatsanos, must be Yabush, who Resha, Sigurda, the Nigi Yabush. Jizanga to Korea Tadale, Dre Tuyage, Tabata Tamjiki to Lam Yamlin, the Nish Yakuresha, Sembida, that did Molam Yuluchen and Aranzuki, Dita was Janjisambanamda, Desuki Dinish and Yamlin Nangores, Jizanganzu in a dinner, Toku, something in Toba Jigin, Sempe Toba Show, Sempe Molam Yuduchen, Molam Dus, the Molam Tapche, Dinigi, Yoalia, Basha Shahores, Bacha Jopa, the Bay, said Bacha Joalia, Bezun Chegore, or that. I think I also love Chagore.
The actual audience for this advice is those who have attained a path, the path of preparation, in particular to the third level, the great level of a path of accumulation. They are the ones who are being strongly encouraged to achieve the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, realizing emptiness. And the way that they do it is through repeatedly over a sustained period, meditating on emptiness, holding it with calm abiding, and then re-engaging in analysis, trying to develop that union of calm abiding and meditative insight. And when they achieve that, they progress to the path of preparation. So for ourselves, those who are such a long way from being at the great level of the path of accumulation, nevertheless, we should aspire to train just like them. And the key point that hopefully has come across here, but I'll reiterate it, the key point is the way they meditate repeatedly over a sustained period on the same topic. So they meditate repeatedly over a sustained period, giving rise to calm abiding on a coarse object. Meditate then thereafter on emptiness again and again and again, realizing emptiness. Then having realized emptiness, they try and hold that realization of emptiness with calm abiding. And they will do so repeatedly over a sustained period until they eventually do. And when they do, they're not satisfied with that. It's not sufficient. So then they will try to analyze further and eventually develop the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So there are these varying steps in the meditation, each of which are engaged in repeatedly over a sustained period, leading to progression. So this is what we should do, and we should combine it with, as it says here, make a sublime wish towards this end, and then plant its seed forever. So the actual Tibetan word is to make prayers, and in this way place imprints on our continuum that we too can train just like the bodhisattvas. But we don't leave it as a mere aspiration. We train now in accordance with our capacity, but repeatedly over a sustained period.
Ligore, she's not around to kill a nga, sebe nga, said Tambo nga, sebe nga, rushing to Patsimbashki, Diwangeda, Ni Jala, Ni Punja, Ni Nala Nugus, and Ni Jala Nugu, the Ni Punja News, the nation of Ligor, Mayura Simbeke, then in your Mobake, the extended Lesa, then the Kowaki Gore, then in Zada, Nga, saying on Zugeda, Karsam Dangwas in that Tombani, Nga said, Temple Tubana, do a Mindos, Tombani, la Chevacha, sometime there. Nga said, Lol Park and this Nangudu, now on a Shinjik, Kanish do some time. Nga said, Anzo Lola, Naidu Kala, Shanla Motable, Lupa, Shapala Motable, Conan when you droop to Nangore. She's now on us do Cheva Chevaina, Mazu Pumbo, Pumba, Pensugi Pumba, Suyu Pumbushi, number she Pumbo, Pumong in account and Cheva Chevaina, the Nigi Cheva Chidu, thou in the Mindua, Sambigi. Dini Tinjin drove at you sometimes, and do Chebachi, the Katak, the Nigin, now on Ashi Mindu, Sembe Samnata, this sometimes now on the Mindu, Sembe Samnati, Danji Delian, so in the Mindu, Sembe sometimes Delian, to send Kaze to some basic chair, or Tombani, some Delia Zichi to something, Zichi to nature. Duegi Pesukatsi due to some Tavana, then as the Shinegi to Shita, things in Rujuyara child, Tinchisa, Denigi Duchine, Mazuki, Gombaina, and the Basha Shagur is water. Chisa Basha Shadu in the Nubal Masona, Lodia, Dinigi, Tomani Toyata, Dini, things in Juyalia, Taranyaru, Resurwada, Lucin Basha Shagur is.
To present then in brief, I hope and I encourage that you do engage in this meditation so as to place the most important of imprints on our mind is generating the aspiration to engage in this meditation for the benefit of all, reflect how we are no different from others. All beings long for happiness, and not just transitory happiness, but happiness that is lasting, that is not punctuated even by a moment of pain. And the cause of all suffering for beings is contaminated karma and afflictions. And the root cause of all of this is the ignorance of self-grasping. And with that recognition, so generating a motivation to be of benefit to others, and therefore to cut the root cause of all suffering, we then engage in the next part of the meditation, which is to remind ourselves of that verse from Chandrakirti I quoted a while ago, the first lines of, from initially grasping at a self and I, comes grasping at things as mine. So from grasping at the self, comes grasping at all as mine. In this way, from the root cause of self-grasping, come all the afflictions. In the meditation then, how does the self appear? Coming to see that the self appears as being independent and unchanging, in other words, as established by way of its own essence, we then investigate, trying to find this essence by which the self appears to exist. We investigate, come to see that it does not exist in the way that it appears. It's empty of existing the way that it appears, and as it appears to be truly existent, it's empty of true existence, or empty of being established by way of its own essence. Then this realization of emptiness, we hold with calm abiding. We engage then in this meditation again and again. So to the extent that we can hold this realization of emptiness, we do. And when we lose it, we remind ourselves by going through the same meditation, hold it with calm abiding. In this way, we place imprints on our continuum of meditating on emptiness, realizing emptiness, and we develop our concentration by holding our realization in this way.
Devata and Lama Deva Ichi so deep Chewadi Gechimbuchagin Sarwa Karsane da Sanji Demba Matu Swa da Lami Demba Matu so Dinigi that Sunjadi Winerang Jigi Garsore Chua Yomare Sempe Samada Dinigi Devata Ichi Sonam Sahoe di Gechimbuchagis di Mebaina Dombani Samdaje Dinigi Sonam Ki Captain of Jabu Machu by Lam Lota Yagi, Dinigi, Javacheta North and Dinigi, and Yaji Cheta Dinigi, and Yangachibu Ure, Dinenza, got Chige, Delia, Domani Doya, Sosa, Tripchanchi, and Yechimbu Resum.
There's a further key point that I want to mention, which goes right at the start of the meditation, and that's to turn one's mind to one's Lama and the Buddha, and make supplications with a mind of trust, supplications that may I realize the teachings on emptiness precisely how you have taught them. May I realize emptiness in an unmistaken manner, perfectly in accordance with your unmistaken teachings. So this is important. In this way, we are creating merit, and we're creating merit in relation to the realization we are striving to achieve, and in particular, not to fall into either extreme, the extreme of believing that phenomena exist by way of their own essence, or the extreme that phenomena do not exist at all. So we need to start our meditation with heartfelt, sincere supplications to our Lama and the Buddha.
Denegi Dombani Mina Shilason to Trupsan, the new Combegi Kazoda, Nyamja Namgatabu come to Seda, and Jigge, they don't Jeto Kumatabu come to say Dikor Mashir Chemadela. Nyamja now so Namgatabu comes to Gonso Seda, Jeto Lutu Shadu, Jeto Kumatabu, Zosa, and Dikor Mashir Chemadela.
We'll conclude there then for tonight. Next week then we'll continue, and the text continues with the final section here, which is that when one has attained the union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness, then the text continues with the presentation on meditative equipoise and subsequent attainment. In other words, in meditation and post-meditation. Okay. Thank you.